Have you ever noticed how the weight you carry grows heavier, not with the years themselves, but with what you refuse to release? There is a particular kind of exhaustion that settles into the bones in later life, and it has nothing to do with age. It comes from carrying beliefs, expectations, and fears that no longer serve the person you have become. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is not what happens to us, but what we cling to long after it has passed. The Buddha once said that holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. But anger is not the only coal we grasp. In older age, many of us hold tightly to pride when we need help, to expectations of how our children should love us, to views that have hardened like old wood, to the illusion that we can control everything around us. We isolate ourselves behind walls we built for protection. We drain our spirits through endless self-sacrifice. And perhaps most painfully, we tell ourselves it is too late to begin anything new. These are the invisible chains that keep inner peace just beyond reach. Not the body's natural decline, not the passage of time, but the refusal to open our hands and let go. This is not about resignation or giving up. It is about recognizing what true freedom looks like when you have lived long enough to know the difference between holding on and being held captive. What follows are 7 things that many carry into their later years, believing they must. 7 weights that masquerade as virtues, as responsibilities, as simply the way things are. But Buddhism offers a different path. It invites us to examine what we carry, to question whether these burdens ever truly belong to us, and to discover that letting go is not loss but liberation. This is the wisdom that can transform your remaining years from a slow fade into a profound awakening. Let go of pride when you need help. There comes a moment in every life when the body whispers what the mind does not want to hear. Your hands tremble just slightly when holding a cup. The stairs that never bothered you now require a pause halfway up. Tasks you performed without thinking now demand your full attention and sometimes still slip beyond your capability. This is not failure. This is not weakness. This is the natural unfolding of a human life, and yet we meet it with such fierce resistance. Pride tells us that needing help means we have become less than we were. It whispers that independence is the measure of our worth, that to ask for assistance is to admit defeat. But Buddhism teaches something entirely different. It reveals that independence was always an illusion, a story we told ourselves during the years when our bodies were strong enough to hide the truth. The truth is this: we have never been separate, not for a single moment. The Buddhist concept of interdependence teaches that all beings exist only in relationship to one another. The air you breathe was given by trees. The food you eat traveled from soil through countless hands to reach your table. Even your thoughts arise from words you learned from others, ideas that passed through generations before landing in your mind. You did not build yourself alone. You have always been held by an invisible web of connection, support, and mutual care. When you were young and strong, you participated in this web by giving. Now, in allowing others to give to you, you complete the circle. You offer them the sacred opportunity to practice generosity, to feel needed, to participate in the fundamental human work of caring for one another. In Buddhist understanding, the person who gives and the person who receives are both engaging in the same spiritual practice. Both are dissolving the illusion of separation. Consider how a forest works. The old trees, the ones with massive trunks and deep roots, do not stand alone in their strength. Beneath the soil, their roots intertwine with younger trees, sharing nutrients, communicating through fungal networks, holding each other steady in storms. When an ancient tree begins to lean, the others do not judge it as weak. They simply hold it up. This is the natural order. This is interdependence. Letting go of pride does not mean surrendering your dignity. It means recognizing that dignity never came from what you could do alone. It came from how you moved through the world with honesty, how you met your circumstances without pretense. There is profound courage in saying, "I need help with this. Can you assist me?" That sentence is not defeat. It is the brave acknowledgement of what is true. The alternative to releasing pride is a prison of increasing isolation. You exhaust yourself trying to maintain the appearance of independence. You avoid situations where your limitations might show. You turn down invitations, skip gatherings, withdraw from the world because you fear being seen as diminished. And in that withdrawal, you lose something far more valuable than independence. You lose connection. You lose presence. You lose the joy of simply being among other humans without having to prove anything at all. When you open your hands and let pride fall away, you discover something unexpected. People do not look at you with pity. They look at you with recognition. Because everyone understands what it means to need help. Everyone has experienced vulnerability. In your willingness to be seen as you truly are, you give others permission to do the same. You become not smaller, but more human. And in that humanity, you find a warmth that independence never provided. Let go of expecting your children to love or live in the way you desire. Few things cause more quiet suffering in later life than the gap between how we hoped our children would turn out and who they actually became. We raised them with such care, made countless sacrifices, held specific dreams about who they might become and how they might care for us in return. And then, they grew into people with their own paths, their own struggles, their own ways of expressing love that may not match what we expected. Buddhism speaks of this as the suffering of attachment to outcomes. We become attached not just to our children themselves, but to particular visions of who they should be and how they should behave. When the person before us does not match the person in our mind, we suffer. We feel disappointed, even betrayed, though they may have done nothing wrong except live their own lives. The Buddha taught his followers about the nature of karma, explaining that each being walks their own path shaped by their own actions, intentions, and circumstances. Your children are not extensions of you. They are not here to fulfill your unlived dreams or to prove that your parenting was successful by becoming certain kinds of people. They came through you, but they do not belong to you. Each soul has its own journey, its own lessons to learn, its own ways of finding meaning. This does not mean you should not feel hurt when relationships with your children are difficult or distant. Your feelings are real and deserve acknowledgement. But Buddhism invites you to examine where that hurt comes from. Often, it rises from invisible expectations you placed on them without realizing it. Expectations that they would visit more often, call every week, make decisions you approve of, raise their own children in ways that match your values, or simply be more grateful for everything you gave them. These expectations, even when unspoken, create pressure. Your children can feel them like a weight, even if you never put them into words. And that pressure can create the very distance you fear. The more you hold expectations, the more you try to shape them into what you think they should be, the more they must push away to find space to be themselves. Letting go of expectations does not mean you stop caring about your children. It means you release your grip on who they ought to be and allow yourself to see who they actually are. This shift in vision can be profound. When you stop comparing the real person before you to the imagined version in your mind, you begin to notice qualities you overlooked. You see their struggles with more compassion. You appreciate the ways they do show love, even if those ways differ from what you hoped for. In Buddhism, this practice is called equanimity. It means accepting that people are on their own paths, making their own choices, learning their own lessons. You can offer guidance when asked. You can express your needs honestly, but you cannot control how they live or how they love. The attempt to control creates suffering for everyone involved. When you release your children from your expectations, something remarkable can happen. The relationship has space to breathe. Love can flow more freely when it is not channeled through narrow requirements. Your children may feel that shift and respond by moving closer, or they may not. Either way, you have freed yourself from the exhausting work of trying to shape another person's life. You have accepted that family love, like all love, grows best in the soil of freedom. Let go of clinging to old views. For decades, you have held certain beliefs about how the world works, what matters most, how people should behave. These views were shaped by your particular time, your culture, your experiences. They felt true because everyone around you confirmed them. But the world has continued to move, and the views that served you in middle age may no longer fit the reality you now inhabit. Buddhism has a teaching about this called beginner's mind. It suggests approaching each moment as if you are seeing it for the first time, without the filter of everything you think you already know. This does not mean pretending you have no experience or wisdom. It means remaining open to the possibility that your understanding is incomplete, that life still has things to teach you, that the opinions you held with such certainty might benefit from re-examination. Many people reach older age and find their views have hardened, like concrete. What once was a preference becomes a rigid rule. What once was one way of seeing becomes the only way. This hardening happens gradually, often without awareness. You stop questioning your own assumptions. You stop listening deeply to perspectives that differ from yours. You begin sentences with phrases like, "In my day, people understood that," or "Nobody seems to know anymore that." These phrases signal that you have stopped engaging with the present and retreated into a fixed past. But the Buddha taught that all compounded things are impermanent. This includes not just objects and bodies, but ideas, values, and ways of understanding. What was appropriate wisdom for one stage of life may need to evolve for another. The views that helped you navigate raising children may not serve you in relating to grandchildren raised in a different world. The certainties that gave you confidence in your working years may need softening now that you have more time for reflection. Clinging to old views creates suffering in several ways. First, it separates you from the present moment and the real people in it. When you insist that things should be done the way they were decades ago, you miss what is actually happening now. You miss opportunities to connect with younger generations who are navigating their own challenges in their own context. You miss the chance to learn from them, to see the world through fresh eyes, to be changed by what is new and unfamiliar. Second, rigidity of thought creates rigidity of heart. When your views cannot bend, your relationships become brittle. People stop sharing their lives with you because they anticipate judgment. Conversations become lectures rather than exchanges. The very wisdom you hope to pass on gets ignored because it comes wrapped in the message that the listener's experience is somehow less valid than yours. Buddhism encourages a quality called wise investigation. This means examining your beliefs, not with the goal of proving them right, but with genuine curiosity about whether they still serve you and others. It means being willing to discover that you were wrong about something, or that your understanding was partial, or that a view you held for years might need updating based on new information or changed circumstances. This does not mean abandoning your core values or becoming someone you are not. It means distinguishing between essential truths and temporary opinions. Some things you believed in your youth may still ring true. Honor those. But other beliefs may reveal themselves as products of a particular time and place, shaped more by cultural conditioning than by deep wisdom. Those you can release without losing yourself. When you let go of clinging to old views, you create space for wonder. You become interested in life again, rather than feeling that you have seen it all. You develop what Buddhism calls a pliant mind, one that can adapt, grow, and remain vital regardless of your body's age. And perhaps most importantly, you become someone younger people actually want to talk to, because you meet them with curiosity rather than correction, with questions rather than pronouncements. Let go of the need to control everything. For much of your life, control felt like responsibility. You made decisions, managed situations, solved problems, kept things running. This was necessary and appropriate. You were caring for children, building a career, maintaining a household. But now, circumstances have shifted. Many of the things you once managed have passed to others or no longer require management. And yet the habit of control persists even when there is nothing left to control. Buddhism teaches that the desire for control arises from fear. Fear of chaos, fear of being hurt, fear that without your constant vigilance, everything will fall apart. But this fear overlooks a fundamental truth. Most of what happens in life has always been beyond your control. You simply had more energy to maintain the illusion of control when you were younger. Think about everything that must go right for you to draw a single breath. Your lungs must function without your conscious direction. Your heart must beat approximately 100,000 times each day without you telling it when. The oxygen in the air must be present in the right proportion, maintained by plants and trees you will never meet. The weather patterns must be stable enough that you can survive in your particular location. Millions of processes must work in harmony every moment for your life to continue, and you control exactly none of them. What you actually control is far smaller than what you have convinced yourself you manage. You control your response to what happens. You control whether you speak with kindness or harshness. You control what you choose to pay attention to. That is the extent of it. Everything else is influenced by countless factors beyond your reach. As you age, life has a way of making this truth impossible to ignore. Your body does things you do not authorize. People you care about make choices you would not make. Systems you relied on change without consulting you. And you face a choice. You can exhaust yourself fighting against this reality, attempting to control what cannot be controlled, or you can release your grip and discover what peace feels like. Letting go of control does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It means redirecting your energy toward what genuinely lies within your power. Instead of trying to control whether your adult daughter makes the career choice you think is best, you control whether you tell her you trust her judgment. Instead of trying to control whether your body ages in the way you prefer, you control how you care for it with gentleness and acceptance. Instead of trying to control the behavior of people around you, You control your own response with wisdom and equanimity. Buddhism offers practices that help with this release. Meditation trains you to observe thoughts and sensations without immediately trying to change them. You learn that you can watch anxiety arise without having to fix the situation that triggered it. You discover that you can feel disappointment without needing to control the person who disappointed you. You develop the capacity to simply be present with what is, rather than constantly reaching for what should be. When you finally release the exhausting attempt to control everything, you may be surprised by what happens. Life does not fall apart. In fact, it often flows more smoothly because you are no longer creating resistance through your efforts to manage every detail. Relationships improve because people no longer feel they must defend their autonomy against your interventions. And most remarkably, you find peace in circumstances that would have terrified you before, because you are no longer basing your sense of safety on an impossible standard of control. Let go of isolating yourself. Somewhere along the way, perhaps after losses accumulated or energy diminished or disappointments multiplied, you began withdrawing. It happened gradually. First, you stopped going to certain gatherings that felt too tiring. Then you let friendships drift when they required too much effort to maintain. You told yourself you preferred solitude, that you had always been independent, that other people were exhausting. And while some of this might be true, Buddhism warns against the danger of isolation that comes not from natural temperament, but from unexamined fear. The Buddha explicitly taught that isolation is one of the conditions that increases suffering. He established the Sangha, the community of practitioners, not as an optional addition to spiritual life, but as one of the three essential refuges. He understood that humans are relational beings, that we need connection not as a luxury, but as a fundamental requirement for well-being. Modern research confirms what the Buddha taught centuries ago. Studies on loneliness in older adults reveal that social isolation is as harmful to health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It increases the risk of dementia, cardiovascular disease, and early death. But beyond the physical impacts, isolation creates a particular kind of suffering that Buddhism describes as one of the realms of existence where beings are trapped by their own mental habits. When you withdraw from others, you create a feedback loop. The less you interact with people, the more your mind generates stories about why connection is impossible or undesirable. You convince yourself that people would not want to hear from you, that you have nothing to offer, that the world has moved on without you. These stories become more convincing in isolation because there is no reality check, no actual human encounter to reveal that your fears are exaggerated. Meanwhile, without the natural variety and stimulation that comes from social contact, your mind begins to narrow its focus. Small worries expand to fill all available mental space. Negative thoughts echo and amplify. You lose perspective because there is no one to offer a different view. Isolation does not provide the peaceful solitude you might be seeking. It creates a kind of echo chamber where suffering multiplies. Letting go of isolation does not require you to become extroverted or to maintain dozens of friendships. Buddhism is not suggesting you fill your calendar with constant activity. It is inviting you to examine whether your withdrawal comes from genuine preference or from unhealed grief, unaddressed fear, or simple habit. Connection can be simple and quiet. It might mean having one friend you call weekly to check in. It might mean joining a meditation group that meets once a month. It might mean volunteering a few hours at a library or community center where you exchange brief words with familiar faces. The form matters less than the intention to remain part of the human web, to let others see you and to see them in return. Buddhism teaches that in connecting with others, we practice essential qualities. We practice patience when someone moves slowly. We practice compassion when we hear about another's struggles. We practice generosity when we share our attention and presence. We practice wisdom when we learn from perspectives different from our own. These practices keep the heart soft and the mind flexible. When you let go of isolation and cautiously open the door to connection, you may rediscover something you forgot. Other people are interesting. Their lives hold surprises. Their kindness can touch you when you least expect it, and your presence matters to them more than you realized. The grandmother who sits quietly in the community center reading room becomes a familiar comfort to others who come there. The person who shows up consistently to a weekly class becomes part of others' routines, part of what makes their week feel complete. You do not have to be entertaining or impressive or even particularly friendly to contribute to community. You simply have to be present, to allow yourself to be seen, to participate in the basic human activity of sharing space and time with others. In that simple participation, isolation dissolves, and you remember what it feels like to belong. Let go of self-sacrifice that drains your spirit. Throughout your life, perhaps especially if you are a woman or were raised in certain cultural traditions, you learned that goodness meant putting others first. You absorbed the message that your needs came last, that asking for anything for yourself was selfish, that love meant constant giving until you had nothing left. And you practiced this teaching so well that now, in older age, you find yourself depleted without quite understanding how you arrived at such emptiness. Buddhism is very clear on this point, and it may surprise you. The Buddha taught that one should care for oneself with the same attention and compassion offered to others. There is a discourse where he says you can search the entire universe and not find anyone more deserving of your love than yourself. This is not encouraging narcissism or selfishness. It is recognizing that you cannot offer genuine care to others when you are running on empty. Think of it this way. Compassion in Buddhism is not the same as martyrdom. Martyrdom comes from a sense of obligation, from guilt, from the belief that your worth depends on how much you sacrifice. Real compassion arises from a full heart that naturally overflows. When you care for yourself, when you nourish your own well-being, you create the conditions for authentic generosity. The help you offer comes from surplus, not scarcity. It comes from genuine care rather than exhausted duty. Many people in later life continue patterns of self-sacrifice long past the point of necessity. You say yes to every request, though you are tired. You take on caregiving responsibilities that exceed your capacity. You give away your resources, your time, your energy, because you believe this is what love looks like. But Buddhism asks, who is served by your depletion? What happens when you give so much that you damage your own health and peace? The answer is that everyone suffers. Your giving becomes tinged with resentment, even if you do not admit it. The people you care for sense your exhaustion and feel guilty. Your relationships become imbalanced, built on a pattern where your needs are perpetually ignored. And you model for younger generations that love requires self-destruction, passing on a harmful pattern to those who watch you. Letting go of draining self-sacrifice means learning to set boundaries without guilt. It means recognizing that no is a complete sentence, that you can love someone deeply while also protecting your own well-being, that rest is not selfishness but wisdom. This is especially important in older age, when your energy is genuinely more limited than it once was. Buddhism teaches the concept of wise compassion. This means responding to suffering in ways that actually help, rather than in ways that simply exhaust you. Wise compassion asks questions before acting. Will my intervention truly serve this person, or am I trying to fix something that is not mine to fix? Can I offer help in a way that preserves both their dignity and my own capacity? Is there a middle path between doing nothing and doing everything? Often, the most compassionate response is not to solve someone else's problem, but to trust them to solve it themselves. Your adult children may be struggling with challenges that worry you deeply, but they are adults who need the chance to develop their own strength and wisdom. Rescuing them from every difficulty may ease your anxiety in the moment, but it does not serve their growth. When you let go of self-sacrifice that drains you, something beautiful can emerge. You discover that there is space to consider what you actually want. What would bring you joy? What would nourish your remaining years? You find that you can be kind and helpful without being consumed. You learn that boundaries do not wall people out, but create the structure within which genuine connection can thrive. And you offer those around you the gift of seeing someone who values themselves enough to live wisely, rather than performing endless martyrdom in the name of love. Let go of the belief that it is too late to begin. Of all the things we tell ourselves in older age, perhaps the most damaging is this: it is too late. Too late to learn something new. Too late to heal old wounds. Too late to pursue a long-abandoned dream. Too late to become different than you have always been. This belief acts like a wall, blocking you from possibilities that would bring meaning and vitality to your remaining years. Buddhism directly refutes this idea. The Buddha taught his followers about the concept of each moment being a new beginning. There is a famous saying in Buddhist circles, "Every breath, new chances." This is not empty optimism. It is recognition of the nature of existence itself. Each moment arises fresh. The past is memory. The future is imagination. The only time you actually possess is now, and now always contains the possibility of something different. Think about the Buddha's own story. He left his palace at age 29 to seek enlightenment, but he did not achieve it until age 35. 6 years of seeking, trying different paths, experiencing failure and frustration. If he had told himself at age 34 that it was too late, that he had already spent too much time searching without finding answers, Buddhism would not exist. Instead, he continued. He remained open. And his awakening came when it came, not on a schedule he demanded. Many people discover their most important work, their deepest peace, their truest self in later life. The poet Mary Oliver began her most celebrated period of writing in her 60s. The folk artist Grandma Moses took up painting at age 77 and created over 1,500 works before her death at 101. Laura Ingalls Wilder published her first novel at age 64, beginning a series that has touched millions of readers. These are not exceptional people with special advantages. They are people who did not listen when society told them it was too late. You may think these examples are about career or creative achievement, and you may protest that you have no such ambitions. But beginning again is not only about external accomplishments. It is about internal shifts that change how you experience your life. It is never too late to begin practicing meditation, to start seeing your thoughts with more clarity. It is never too late to extend forgiveness to someone you have held resentment toward for decades. It is never too late to take up a hobby that brings you simple joy, to learn a skill just for the pleasure of learning. to make a friend who sees who you are now rather than who you used to be. Buddhism teaches that awareness itself has no age limit. Your capacity to wake up to the present moment, to see through old patterns, to choose a different response than the one you have always chosen, this capacity does not diminish with time. Your body ages, yes. Your memory may not be as sharp, yes. But the fundamental ability to be present, to choose, to grow in wisdom, this remains available until your very last breath. The belief that it is too late is usually not about time at all. It is about fear. Fear that you will fail, fear that you will look foolish, fear that trying something new will reveal limitations you would rather not face. But what is the alternative? To sit in the comfort of familiar suffering because it feels safer than risking unfamiliar possibility. When you let go of the belief that it is too late, when you release that heavy story about being past your potential, you give yourself an extraordinary gift. You return to a state of openness that you may not have felt since childhood. You become curious again. You allow yourself to be a beginner, which is always the first step in learning anything. And you discover that the years you worried were wasted can become years of profound meaning if you simply decide they can. The path to inner peace in older age is not about adding more to your life. It is about releasing what weighs you down. Each of these 7 things, the pride that prevents you from accepting help, the expectations that trap your children and yourself, the rigid views that separate you from the present, the exhausting attempt to control what you cannot control, the isolation that seems safe but creates suffering, the self-sacrifice that drains rather than nourishes, and the belief that it is too late. Each of these is a weight you have been carrying, and each one can be set down. This is what the Buddha meant when he taught about letting go. He was not telling people to abandon their families or responsibilities. He was inviting them to examine what they carry unnecessarily, what they cling to out of habit or fear, what they could release, and discover freedom in the letting go. You have lived long enough to understand this. The heaviest burdens are not the external circumstances you face, but the internal positions you maintain. The exhaustion you feel may have less to do with your age than with how tightly you are gripping these 7 things, trying to maintain a version of yourself or your life that no longer serves you. Inner peace is not something you achieve by finally making everything perfect. It is what remains when you stop insisting that things be different than they are. It is the natural state that emerges when you release resistance, when you make friends with your life as it actually is, when you let yourself be exactly who you have become without apology or regret. Buddhism promises that this peace is available to you right now, regardless of your circumstances, not in some future moment when conditions improve, not in the past when things were better, but here, in this breath, in this moment of reading these words. Peace is not something far away. It is what you discover beneath the weight of everything you have been carrying. So perhaps this is the invitation, to gently examine what you hold, to ask if it is truly serving you, to experiment with loosening your grip just a little. You do not have to let go of everything at once. You do not have to become a different person overnight. You simply have to be willing to consider that the way you have been doing things might not be the only way, that the beliefs you have held might benefit from re-examination, that the habits of a lifetime might soften with gentle awareness. In your remaining years, however many or few they may be, you have the opportunity to live with more freedom, more presence, more peace than you have ever known. Not because circumstances will be perfect, but because you will no longer be at war with what is. This is the gift of age when approached with Buddhist wisdom. The recognition that you can set down the burdens you have carried, that you can walk more lightly through each day, that you can meet life with an open heart and open hands. The journey to inner peace does not require you to go anywhere or become anyone other than who you already are beneath all the accumulated weight. It simply requires the courage to let go, the wisdom to recognize what is yours to carry and what is not, and the compassion to meet yourself with gentleness as you practice this letting go again and again. This is the work of later life, the deepest work, the work that finally reveals what has been true all along. You are already whole, you are already enough, and peace has always been waiting just beneath the surface, ready to rise the moment you stop holding it down. If you have heard something in these words that resonates with where you are right now, consider this an invitation to begin. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances are better, but now. Choose one thing from these 7 to examine this week. Notice how it feels in your body when you carry it. Ask yourself honestly whether it serves you or simply weighs you down. And if you discover it is a weight you can release, practice opening your hands just a little, just enough to see what letting go might feel like. This is how transformation happens, not in grand moments of sudden enlightenment, but in small acts of release, repeated gently day after day. Each time you let go of even a fraction of what you have been carrying, you create a little more space for peace to enter. And gradually, almost without noticing, you find yourself living in that peace more often than not, moving through your days with a lightness you thought was lost forever, but was actually just buried beneath everything you believed you had to hold. If you found value in this reflection, we invite you to share it with someone else who might need these words. And if you would like to continue exploring Buddhist wisdom for living peacefully in later life, please subscribe to our channel. We are here to walk this path together, offering gentle reminders of what you already know deep down, that it is never too late to find peace, that letting go is not loss, and that your later years can hold more freedom and joy than any that came before.